What's up, Scare Crew? This your girl Treese, and I am back with another video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn those notifications on so you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Recently, I did a freezer challenge where I was cleaning out my freezer and eating nothing but whatever came out of the freezer for a week. I didn't make it through the whole week. I made it to about Thursday, Friday-ish. But for the most part, my freezer is cleaned out. I got rid of everything that I needed to get rid of. And yesterday I went to the farmer's market, got some fresh vegetables. And today, Sunday, we are going to go ahead and start prepping these vegetables to get ready for the week. Making something to eat every single night for the next day can be a little bit taxing, and the easiest way to get by, as most vegans already know, is to meal prep. So today I'm going to get started on some of the things that I like to prep. I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven on and we can go ahead and get started. So I have the oven preheated. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep my tomatoes and onions for my tomato soup and my homemade pasta sauce, because later on this week I am going to be making lasagna. Okay, this is 5 really big juicy tomatoes, so this will be one batch for the tomato soup, and then I'll get started on the other one for the pasta sauce. Okay, so now that the tomatoes are already cut up nice and juicy, I need to cut up some onions really quickly, and then we're gonna throw this into the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour to roast before we can really get started on the sauce. So I'll go ahead and cut up those onions, and then you'll see how I'll prep it before I go ahead and throw them in the oven. We're going to add some avocado oil to each of these pans and some salt and pepper. That's all we need is avocado oil, salt and pepper, and then we're gonna throw these in the oven. Alright, got my lid on, making sure that we flip to seal. We're going to turn this on, pressure cook low, and it says 3 minutes, but I'm gonna do 4 because I think I put a little bit more than did I put more than a pound? No, I'm gonna do 3. Let's be safe. Alright, and those. Okay, so we've got the tomatoes and onions in the oven. We've got the chickpeas in the pressure cooker. We're gonna go ahead and get started on the green beans. We're gonna put those on the stove, and then we will go from there. Getting a pressure cooker is one of my better kitchen investments. I use this pressure cooker, air fryer, all-in-one Ninja pretty much every day for different things, but this was such a great investment, not having to wait on chickpeas to cook all day. Okay, so the onions and tomatoes look good, nice and roasted. So we're gonna go ahead and take these out of the oven so that we can do the tomato soup and sauce. The green beans are on the stove cooking for now. I went ahead and seasoned them. I used some onion powder, garlic powder, some seasoned salt, and some liquid smoke on top of the vegetable bouillon that I had put in the water. I'm just gonna leave them on the stove to simmer for about an hour or so, and as they begin to soften up, I will taste test it to see if I need to add a little bit more seasoning here and there, but for now, those are good. So we have the tomatoes and onions that we're roasting in the oven. Those are done, so we can go ahead and start making our sauce there. So next we're gonna take this immersion blender and we're gonna blend up these tomatoes and onions for our tomato soup. We want to blend until we get a really nice consistency because nobody wants to eat like chunky tomato soup, right? So the mustard greens have been soaking since early this morning. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to wash those. I've already cut up the onion that's gonna go with them. We're gonna cook those in the pressure cooker as well, just for time purposes. We don't wanna be sitting here making mustard greens for 4 and 5 hours at a time. So. After chopping them, I did go ahead and rinse them one more time just to make sure that there wasn't anything gritty that was still on the leaves, because sometimes when you chop them, it still kind of loosens up some of that extra filth. So the greens are good. I have my onions already prepped, and then I just went ahead and made some more vegetable bouillon where I just added some onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, seasoned salt, liquid smoke, and then to top it off, of course, I did some red pepper flakes. I'm not gonna put any salt and pepper in it while I am making them in the pressure cooker. That's something that can be added after they're done, depending on how they come out. So right now I have the onions in the pressure cooker, getting ready to saute. And I will add a little bit of bouillon in there too, just to kind of give it lubrication. All right, so I have my onions going. I'm gonna add a little bit of vegetable bouillon in there. Okay, so the onions have sauteed very nicely. So now we can go ahead and add in our mustard greens. And while that looks like it's filled to the brim, once they start cooking, it'll go down. Okay, so currently I went ahead and put some quinoa in the pressure cooker to go with my dinner meals. I'm gonna do some quinoa bowls. But in the meantime, while that's cooking, I'm gonna continue to chop up some sweet potatoes because those are gonna go in next so that I can make some mashed sweet potatoes. And I'm also going to go ahead and start on the homemade pasta sauce for later on this week for when I make the lasagna. Now I did roast the tomatoes and onions together, but I'm not gonna immersion blend them together. I'm actually just gonna blend the tomatoes and I'm gonna chop up the rest of the onions a little bit thinner, and then we're just gonna mix that in there because we don't want it to be the same as the tomato soup. It's gonna be different. And we're also gonna season it a little bit different as well.
Show me what you got.
So the consistency of the sauce looks really good. It's not too chunky, but it's not too smooth. And I went ahead and added the onions that we roasted in here as well. So now next we'll just go ahead and start the seasonings, and we're gonna let this kind of marinate over the stove with the seasonings so that it'll be ready for when we go ahead and make that pasta later on this week. All right, so the quinoa looks perfect. Okay, so the sweet potatoes have just came out of the pressure cooker. They are now softened enough for me to mash them up, add my butter and brown sugar to put them in the oven to bake for just a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the sweet potatoes, and I have been making some chili. And I just used some Garden crumbles. I threw some onions in there. I used onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, some tomato paste with water, and I did add just a little scoop of the homemade pasta sauce that I made, but I didn't want to use too much. Oh, also red kidney bean. So that's simmering on the stove right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get finished up with the sweet potatoes, and then from there I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the hummus.
Show me what you got.
Okay, so I'm starting to run out of memory, but pretty much everything is done. The only thing left is to finish plating everything, and I think I'm gonna make some cornbread with the chili. Okay, so I only have a few minutes left worth of memory, but we are finished. The kitchen is clean and everything is already packaged up, ready to go in the fridge or freezer. So let's check it out to see what we ended with. So starting here on the end, we have a few loose bowls of quinoa, and this is for my breakfast quinoa that I will put on the stove with some milk and sugar, making it basically just like oatmeal, but it's pretty good. So we have that for breakfast, as well as some sweet potatoes. We may use some of this for like a sweet potato smoothie. We also have some loose chickpeas, and those are gonna be used as a snack. Roasted chickpeas in the air fryer. All right, so we have some hummus packaged up with celery and carrots for the week. I also have an extra container that is going to go in the freezer. We have the chili with the kidney beans and onions, and I also made some cornbread to go with it, but I made it off camera just because of my memory. Also have an extra container that's gonna go in the freezer as well. Next we have some more sweet potatoes that were left over, as well as string beans. These sweet potatoes are gonna go in the freezer just to make sure that I have a backup. Same with these green beans, those are gonna go in the freezer as well. This extra quinoa is gonna go in the freezer also. And then we have here made up just for dinner, I have some quinoa, sweet potatoes, and mustard greens. I just didn't want them to touch because of the way the juices are, but I'm probably gonna make maybe like some seitan or something to go along with it. And then you can see that I have some additional containers with sweet potatoes and mustard greens. And then I have containers here that have chickpeas, quinoa, and green beans together for like a quinoa bowl. And I'm just going to package those up and put them in the freezer. Next we have the tomato soup. A lot of this is gonna go in the freezer just to make sure that I have backup. So this one will go in the freezer, that's gonna go in the freezer, this is gonna go in the freezer. And then I'll probably keep two or three of these out in the refrigerator so that I can eat on it this week. And then we have the homemade pasta sauce. I'm gonna use this pasta sauce this week for when I make my pasta. I'm going to make lasagna later on this week. So we have that packaged up as well over here on the counter. One more thing I forgot to put in a container, but I will, is I made some kale chips with some of the kale that I had bought from the farmer's market. That came out really good. And this is just another snack that I'll just eat is probably enough for like 1 or 2 days maybe, but I have more kale that I can make along the way. I didn't want to make it all at once, but the kale chips, they're pretty good. That's been prepped up. I also have extra cornbread, but I probably won't freeze any of this because my husband and kids will probably eat some of the cornbread as well. That is all that I have for you today. I've only got about 3 minutes left worth of memory, but we got through it. Everything got done today. This should be enough food to last me not just this week, but some of next week as well, especially since I'm going to be making pasta later on this week. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Until next time, peace.